They still have any evening classes?
I have no idea.
Well, Faye had asked me, and I had no idea either.
Do they?
We do a evening reading.
The reading of the K-book?
Well, we finished the K-book, now we're on to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I mean, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya.
Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, wow.
Wow.
Shoot.
So the classes are going on 5 nights a week or more than that?
6 nights a week.
6 nights a week.
Yeah.
After the outtake or before?
It's we start at 4.
Oh, 4 o'clock. Oh.
Oh, it starts at 4? And it's a 30-minute class.
Yeah, about 30, sometimes 45.
Yeah. Okay. Right now you're on teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Okay, I'd be glad to hear that.
Yeah.
There's no way you can make it to morning class. Krishna is the lover of Radha.
Oh, you mean Fayette? Do you mean Fayette?
Fayette.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Krishna is the lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavan. He is the lover of the cowherd maidens of Raj, the older of the great hill named Govardhan, the beloved son of Mother Jasoda, and the delighter of the inhabitants of Raj. He wanders in the forest along the banks of the river Jamuna. He's like the eternal divine celebrity.
Krishna.
But it's beyond that, of course. But
Yeah.
but to imagine always seeking him out. Text. Okay, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 10th chapter, text number 32. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Please repeat. Gunatmaka Nindriyani.
Gudatmaka Nindriyani.
Gunatmaka Nindriyani.
Gudatmaka Nindriyani.
Bhutadi.
Bhutadi.
Prabhava.
Prabhava.
Gunaha.
Gunaha.
Bhutadi. Prabhava. Gunaha.
Bhutadi. Prabhava. Gunaha.
Manaha. Sarva.
Sarva.
Vikaratma.
Vikaratma.
Manaha. Sarva. Vikaratma.
Manasava Vikaratma.
Buddhir.
Buddhir.
Vijnana.
Vijnana.
Rupina.
Rupina.
Buddhir. Vijnana. Rupina.
Buddhir Vijnana Rupina. Rupini. Or Rupini. Rupini. Yeah. Rupini.
Gunatma ka nindriyani.
Gudatmaka Nindriyani.
Bhutadi prabhava gunaha.
Bhutadi Prabhava Gunaha.
Manaha savavikaratma.
Manasava Vikatmana.
Buddhir vijnana rupina.
Buddhir Vijnana Rupini.
Gunatma ka nindriyani.
Gunatmaka Nindriyani.
Bhutadi prabhava gunaha.
Bhutadi Prabhava Gunaha.
Manaha sarva vikaratma.
Manaha Sarva Vikaratma.
Buddhir vijnana rupini.
Buddhir Vijnana Rupini. Oh, I'm sorry, I was spaced out. I went somewhere else. Okay, sorry. Gunatmakanindriyani. Budadi Pravaha Guna. Manatsava Vikatma. Buddhir Vijnana Rupini. Gunatmaka Nindriyani. Bhakti Pravaha Gunaha. Manasava Vikatmana. Buddhir Vijnana Rupini. Gunatmaka Nindriyani.
Bhutani Prabhava Gunaha.
Manasava Vikaratma. Buddhir Vijnana Rupini.
Gunatmaka Nindriyani.
Gunatmaka Nindriyani.
Bhutani Prabhava Gunaha. Manasava Vikratma.
Manasava Vikaratma.
Buddhir Vijnana Rupini.
Buddhir Vijnana Rupini.
Sorry, Prabhu. I have to make the Tamil. I have milk won't boil, and I don't want to miss class.
You had to go milk the cow, and
Oh,
you go out and cut the egg.
just didn't think, I don't want to miss class, Why so low attendance today? I didn't get it.
Long Lord was like that too.
Two today.
No, I'm not doing so good, so
It's not a full moon.
Thursdays
I'm
are
not a standard either. I'm trying, But it's spiritual, This is spiritual, so it doesn't really.
When you time is more than the usual, what happens?
Hare Krishna.
What's that?
Yeah, you see that?
You see that?
Everybody's chanting that wants to chant.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Please repeat. Guna Atmakani
Atmakani.
attached to the qualities.
Attached to the qualities.
Indriyani
Indriyani.
the senses.
The senses.
Bhuta
Bhuta.
Adi
Adi.
material ego.
Material ego.
Ego.
Rabhavaha influenced by.
Influenced by.
Gunaha
Gunaha.
the modes of material nature.
Modes of material nature.
Manaha
Manaha.
the mind.
Mind.
Sarva
Sarva.
all.
Oh.
Vikara
Vikara.
affection.
Affection.
Happiness and distress.
Happiness and distress.
Atma
Atma.
form.
Form.
Buddhi
Buddhi.
intelligence.
Intelligence.
Vijnana
Vijnana.
deliberation.
Liberation.
Rupini
Rupini.
featuring.
Featuring.
How about that?
How about that?
Just like in the movies, different people featuring. This movie features this person, that person.
We were just wondering when is the movie thing going to come out.
Yeah.
It came out too early
Yeah.
today.
A little early. I planned it for later, but a
We
little early
always
today.
said, movie thing is going to come out.
I have to remember that though. I like that word, rupini.
Mm.
It reminds you of rupini or
Mm.
Tonini, Rupini. That's easy to remember.
It's a nice name.
Translation, please repeat. The sense organs
The sense organs
are attached to the modes of material nature.
Are
are attached to the modes of material nature.
And the modes of material nature
And the modes of material nature
are products of the false ego.
are products of the false ego.
The mind is subjected to all kinds of material experiences. Happiness and distress.
Happiness and distress.
And so that's in parentheses. Material experiences, parentheses, happiness and distress. And the intelligence
And the intelligence
is the feature of the mind's deliberation.
is the mind's liberation.
I'll just read the translation. The sense organs are attached to the modes of material nature, and the modes of material nature are products of the false ego. The mind is subjected to all kinds of material experiences, happiness and distress, and the intelligence is the feature of the mind's deliberation. You can just see intelligence just sitting back, studying what the mind's doing, So, in the translation it says, and the intelligence is the feature of the mind's deliberation. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Illusion by the material nature, the living entity identifies with false ego. More clearly, when the living entity is entrapped by the body, he at once identifies with the bodily relationships, forgetting his own identity as spirit soul. This false ego associates with different modes of material nature, and thus the senses become attached to the modes of material nature. Mind is the instrument for feeling different material experiences, but intelligence is deliberative and can change everything for the better. So mind is the instrument for feeling different material experiences. But intelligence is deliberative and can change everything for the better. The intelligent person, therefore, can attain salvation from the illusion of material existence, a proper use of intelligence. An intelligent person can detect the awkward position of material existence and thus begin to inquire as to what he is, why he is subjected to different kinds of miseries, and how to get rid of all miseries. And thus, by good association, an advanced intelligent person can turn towards the better life of self-realization. It is advised, therefore, that an intelligent person associate with the great sages and saints who are on the path of salvation. By such association, one can receive instructions which are able to slacken the conditioned soul's attachment for matter. And thus the intelligent man gradually gets rid of the illusion of matter and false ego, and is promoted to the real life of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Text 32, translation. The sense organs are attached to the modes of material nature, and the modes of material nature are products of the false ego. The mind is subjected to all kinds of material experiences, happiness and distress, and the intelligence is the feature of the mind's deliberation.
I found it interesting that it says the three modes of nature are the products of the false ego.
Yeah. But we do create our own body, the mind creates the next body.
But you choose which you get. It's like, you're hanging around with a certain group of people, and then all of a sudden somebody comes in who's a little bit, like say you're in a very, nice park and people are very peaceful and more than more goodness. And then someone comes in and just a little bit more energy, and like, hey, we got this, and a little more passionate. And then, so you somehow, it rubs off on you. And then you walk away and you're feeling a little more of that energy. Like that. So,
yeah.
I guess it's what you identify with.
Prabhu says, and this was a morning walk in LA on the beach, and or it might have been, I think it was Hawaii maybe. Anyway, I've been listening to both of them lately. But he said that, Rameshwar was saying that, so it must have been LA. Rameshwar was saying that, so devotees want to live outside the temple, So what about this, Srila Prabhupada? Are they allowed to do that? Well, Prabhupada pointed out the fact also that he always lived outside. He never lived in the temple. And his Guru Maharaj says, that is fine. He can do that. And eventually he will do everything. He will accomplish everything, So it certainly wasn't a problem. But Prabhupada says you have to follow the program, though. You have to follow the regular principles. You have to chant. You prescribe a number of rounds. And this way, otherwise it says if you go out there and you associate with all of those people, you will eventually lose everything. Follow it from the process.
Lord Chaitanya says, I think in the instruction, it would be better to be locked in a cage of fire than associate with non-brothers.
Yeah, Prabhupada said that too in the same conversation. He said that it is preferred to be in a cage surrounded by fire than to be associated with it.
It's interesting because there was a devotee who he came to a dark ending, unfortunately, but he's a really nice person. So at one point in his career, he kept coming in and out, and he had moved home to Nashville, and he wrote to Prabhupada telling Prabhupada, how more spiritual advancement is making on his own without the devotees. And so Prabhupada said, he had asked one question and said, well, as far as this, then that, you can't do. And then, but as far as making spiritual advancement, it is best you give up your hallucinations and and move into the association of devotees. It was always recommended in those days that you, but there was people like Gopal Krishna, who was a householder, and coincidentally I saw his marriage, and then later when I moved into Brooklyn, I was a brahmachari, and he had an apartment near the Brooklyn Temple. Before he went to work, he would get on a train and go to Connecticut, from Brooklyn to Connecticut. So he worked with, he was an accountant for either Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola. He had a good job. But before he would go to work, he'd come to Mangalarti. And he lived right around the block. And before he went home at night, he came to the temple and paid his obeisances to Prabhupada and then took darshan of the deities, usually around the Sundarati. So that was an example. And then on weekends, even on Harinam, like that.
Yes.
So if you know, like, and that's it. I always was very, I thought I was really fortunate to have that exposure. But then later, when I became a grahasta, you know, to see someone, you know, I actually saw him get married, then I saw how he lived, and then I saw that he eventually took sannyas. But that, anyway, it was just that. But generally, but then Jai Patakamars says that Prabhupada they were on a walk by a church, and he said, eventually our movement will be that everyone will live around the temple, and they'll come. But not just on Sundays. I mean, you know, like with the church, you go in for an hour, and you walk out, and then you forget. Like Krishna said something really interesting yesterday. She said, what I like about classes where we were talking about the Shamataka jewel, she said, I can then, when I leave the class, later in the day, I'll remember something about the pastime. But when you start talking about intricate philosophical points, for her anyway, it's not as easy, and she wants to be able to remember. When we used to do this thing where when you walked out of the class, you immediately turn to say to somebody, so what do you remember about the class? And be just like, we did Om Namo Bhagavate. We did Om Namo Bhagavate. That's right? Yeah, right at the beginning. You know, so whatever you, but association is so important.
Yeah.
I just read in the fourth canto of Srila Prabhupada's purport, and he said you cannot make advancement without, you can't do it by yourself.
But it's not possible for everybody to live at the temple. But now it's getting to the point where we're reaching this stage where Prabhupada had predicted that the cities are going to collapse and people will be coming to these farms. And not all of them will be devotees. And we have to gradually learn how to deal with different types of people. Not expect everybody
We're all at different levels.
Yeah.
We're all different levels.
Right, exactly. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent.
Well, it's just such a short class. 30 minutes is all they give you, so.
Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of stuff to go through, but
so I
never make it.
apologize.
It's like this every time, you know?
I apologize.
Entering into the false reality of this material body. This is something I wrote down last night. Entering into the false reality of this material body is like entering into a cinema house. Before the movie, before one enters, we are ourselves. And after we enter the movie, we become the character on the screen. Or we become several characters in their world. We root for our favorite characters, and we want the best for them. We may become a superhero, or a vampire slayer, a prince, a king. It's like that in life, after life in this material world. While we are under the illusion of the movie, we really believe we're that character. The same is true when we dream. In the movie or dream, the mind is subjected to all kinds of material experiences, but the intelligence is sitting back and observing how the mind is reacting in case it has to step in and remind the mind that it's only an illusion. The funny thing about, I know some people, we all do this, if we're in like a nightmare or something, and we're telling ourselves, wake up, you know what I mean? It's only a dream. I think this is only a dream. I want to wake up now, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, those are like nightmares, you know.
We're talking about a dream. Can I share a small dream?
Okay.
I have this two little, it's a nice one too. Prabhupada's little bead bag, little bead bag. We have always lost it in the past, really bad. So I put at the back there for ironing, meaning to tell her the last 2 days. I keep forgetting. So I had a dream last night. Me, her, and Sarojini. We were talking, and that bead bag on the ground, on the floor. And I said, I'm screaming at her, I said, look at this. I said, Sarojini, don't worry. She picks it up. From now on, I'll iron this, she says. I didn't want to give it to her. In my real life, I didn't want to give it to her because she has to take it home, bring it back. It's going to definitely get lost.
Yeah.
But this dream was so vivid yesterday, last night, that I suddenly see it on the ground. And we three were there.
Wow.
And then Sarojini said, no, I will do this. And I said, you better not lose this. So it's
Yeah, I don't even want to tell you what I dreamt about.
I dreamt about trying to find gas, like I feel like now in the future, for a vehicle, and I could not find the right kind of gas. And so many of the truck stops, the gas stations were like dusty, abandoned. It was like someplace in Australia, you know, just driving around, you can't find a place to fill up in the future, you know.
Where was this?
In his dream.
Oh, we're talking about dreams. It's like a movie that day or dreams, a different thing.
She was dreaming about, some part of her devotional service. She was dreaming about that we're going to need gas. Where are we going to find the gas?
And what did you do?
And eventually I was just walking, like I do now.
Too much.
Well, yeah, because can I say something?
But
Well, because that's the things that I've been thinking about. This is that we've developed a society that we don't work where we live, and we don't educate our children near where we live. Everything, because of the automobile, we think, well, we have this facility, but it's created separation. We don't live near our relatives. We're far away from each other. And we think that sometimes material advancement, these inventions, like the reason there's skyscrapers is because somebody invented an elevator. You can't have a skyscraper without an elevator. And the refrigeration, that everybody thought that was a great thing. But refrigeration facilitated mass slaughter of animals because they could refrigerate train cars or trucks and ship it across the country. In the past, I talked to some farmers in Tennessee when we first bought that place. They said, we would never think about killing our farm animals. I mean, we needed them. They were, especially the cow. Occasionally a chicken here or there, but they wanted the chicken for eggs, and the chickens were a way of getting rid of the bugs and the weeds in the garden. That's the way they thought. So they didn't necessarily kill and eat as much meat until there was refrigeration.
yeah, if you want to find out what it's really like in America in the old days, just talk to Fed, and it's mind-opening. It's eye-opening because, like you say, that he was saying that his Aunt Alma, and she was there in the early days. She said they never ate the cow, basically speaking.
No, the cow was milk and butter.
Chicken was when the preacher came on Sunday or something, or the dinner once a week. Chicken was a special meal. Most of the time it was biscuits, beans, gravy, potatoes, simple things, real simple things. The boys didn't have shirts to wear. She said it's like in Alabama to school. They wear coveralls. the girls, they had flour sacks. They were all sewn together, and then they would dye them, I guess, you know. And as far as
come pretty.
I'm sorry.
They would come pretty. The flour sacks came pretty. They came printed.
They came that way.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to dye them. In other words.
No, right, yeah. My, one of my former clients, he's quite old, and he talks about the old days, and he used to ride a cow. They had horses and stuff, but he had a steer, I think it was, that he rode. And
To school?
everywhere.
Wow.
All right.
And he said that he would, his mom would use the flour sacks to make their underwear, and because they had boys in their family, so they all had flowered underwear.
Whoa.
You said they didn't even insulate the buildings back then.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the kitchen be built separate from the house if possible because it's so hot in there. Like in the summertime, and you still have to cook. If you could cook it, if it could be separate. This is things I never would have thought about. And the porch, I read about this years ago. The porch actually was invented in Africa a long time ago. That's where the idea came from. And of course, eventually it made its way to America. You know, porches. You can stay cool.
Well, is it cooler?
Huh?
It's cooler that way, the porch?
Yeah.
Place to sit outside.
Right.
And
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
their
They would not sit inside the house in the daytime in the summer.
They
It's just
still
too
do
hot.
that. They still do that in New Orleans. If you go right around, bunch of people always sitting
Yeah.
outside, and people call them porch monkeys.
Well, when I was growing up, this was in the 50s, all the mothers after dinner, we'd be out in the streets playing,
Yeah.
and all the mothers would sit together and talk, and then,
And they get to watch the kids that way.
yeah, they watch us, and if we said something, you know, some word that they didn't like, I remember my mother
really?
jumping all over one kid for saying something, and he used the N-word. My mother went crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
We don't say that. We don't talk that like that around here.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you
Well-
cannot talk to 3 people without offending somebody.
So in the morning,
Exactly.
This is
Yeah.
wrong.
for your lunch, you might get a biscuit left over from breakfast, you know, and your box lunch, and an apple, and a biscuit, and that's kind of it, or a piece of cornbread and an apple, you know, for your lunch. And then also they didn't have umbrellas. Basically, when it rained, they would just get wet walking to school. It might be 3 miles, whatever, you know.
Yeah,
It's
the
pretty
before
austere.
and after is terrible now. Before that's like that, and now it's like totally different.
Senator wants to say something.
Hey, to me,
I was paying obeisance to the knees.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
Well, here's I read half of it. Here's a little bit more. The funny thing is about weak conditioned soul is that we are so easily fooled by the modes of material nature and the false reality of this world. The truth is, in this fallen age of Kali Yuga, hardly anyone is interested in self-realization, purification, and anything to do with God, the Supreme Person, our Supreme Friend and Father. I suspect the reason that many people might be slightly interested in self-realization is because it contains the word self in it. In this age, it's all about myself, pleasing my senses, pleasing my senses, pleasing my senses. What about God's senses? Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that by good association, the intelligent person can turn towards the better life of self-realization. Bhakti Yoga is the authorized process of how to please the Lord, Sri Krishna. Yeah, Prabhupada says that if we associate with devotees, that's the quickest way for success. And he says that by associating with other devotees, we can see we can improve ourselves, and we see our other examples, others' examples.
sorry, Guru.
Is this too small?
A little bit small, but it's okay. They can use it right here.
I was gonna say, when I was reading the, like the Mahabharata, well, I'm still reading it right now. But,
Mahabharata.
the like, the elders in the war and so etc., like when they're like stripping
Broccoli.
Draupadi, and I just wonder like why they don't help because they're so righteous, they're such righteous men. And they said that they didn't help like Bhima and everything, like they didn't help because they were taking association, like they were taking bad association, they were eating food with
I can give you a really simplified example of that, getting back to the movies again, which everybody knows how to do that. But there's something that they say in a case like that in Hollywood. They say it's in the script. That's why it's in the movie. So Lord Krishna's pastimes, you know, it's what he wants. He wants it to go like this, so that there will be the war later. He wants them to have a legitimate reason, you know, to go to war. You know, that's just simplified example.
But Prabhuji can explain too that situation better.
Well, what she just said is absolutely the fact that they were eating food
Cooked by
Duryodhana, and that influenced there. But also, they had this code that they knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
It was Bhima did want to go at them, but Arjuna and Yudhishthira restrained him. But Grandfather Bhishma is the one that everybody thinks. But he knows that, there's a code, and they had to follow by those.
The checker code, yeah.
So
is there one reason?
what?
One reason is they under the Duryodhana.
Yeah.
They have eaten their food,
Yeah.
salt and everything, and when you eat someone's salt, someone's food, you're under them. Then
They're
you
influenced.
cannot come up
But
well.
isn't that just like overall bad association? Like, isn't
Yeah,
that
right.
you have
Exactly.
to think,
You're talking about being indebted to somebody for financial help and food.
Yeah. But also know you're actually becoming, in a sense, influenced to think like they do.
It's a good question.
You know,
Yeah.
that association.
I mean, I'm sure everybody here has experienced it when you're out there in the field, on the battlefield, and you eat a little bit of peanuts, and immediately a bad thought comes in because the person who was cooking all that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You're getting their vibrations, you know.
But that's only part of it, you know. That's only part. That cannot be. It's already all destined. Bhagavatam is like all that. But those kind of things, what we have gone through, that's what they say. Mahabharata is like something that you can experience in your lifetime. It's still happening now. You know, you will see something is wrong. This group of men or ladies will be like, can't see it. It happened here 10, 20 years ago, an incident. And I was like screaming my head off with my husband, your brain is gone. This is wrong. And he's like, no, because that happened to be his friend. You know, they still do these things, you know. Whether you eat salt, you eat salt or no salt, if I eat salt from a person or not, when I see something is wrong, I will not stand there and go along with it. Because what is wrong is wrong. They know, those people who are in that assembly knew in their heart that this is so wrong, I didn't do anything about it, I'm going to get a punishment. That's why Bhishma accepted that. That's why until Draupadi came, he was laying on the arrows. Until she came, he did not leave his body.
Yeah, that's the punishment for the bishop.
Yeah, because he knew, he accepted it. Because he's the part he killed with Duryodhana, has to deal with this.
I also just read that all the blood had been drained out, all that, and that blood
Yes.
came
out
from
that, whatever
Yeah.
is
Right.
It's all connected.
dead.
Yeah.
But they are big guys now, they're leaders. That's why people expect leaders to do something when they see something is wrong.
No.
Because they cannot, like, they won't blame the little fly. They never say, oh yeah, this one, that one. If the Pandavas, they were mostly a righteous type of people. They did wrong. They shouldn't have played this guy. They shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have promised. They did that. So they kind of like accepted that. They know. All of them know.
But they were cheating. What's his name? Sakuni.
Right.
He was that dice was loaded.
Yeah.
I have to read that part.
You will come to it. You must see what Draupadi said. Oh my God. She was like so mad with the husbands, you know.
But it also set up the moment where Krishna comes and you see, in the
not
end,
meant for that.
in the end, the only person you can depend on
It's
is
Krishna.
her.
Yeah. Forget about husbands. I like that. Sorry. I'll go over there.
Hare Krishna.
Forget about husbands. Yes.
Otherwise, the civil devotees, the entire part.
You always seem to create create a mood where people want to get involved. It's a good thing. I mean, I apologize if I spoke too much.
Well, it's such a short class now, you don't.
No, I'm going to talk to.
I mean, they used to have 45 minutes basically. Well, now again.